Good afternoon. My name is Bob Luckner, and my wife and the president is on her way up here. So we wanted to go ahead and get started. You should have agendas. If you don't, there's some more up here. And later on, we're going to talk about a proposed project list to submit to the county, and there are copies of that available. So Catherine, I'll let you take it over.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all. Welcome. And I'm sorry I'm tardy. I had to take a phone call outside in the car, and I had to stay in the car because my phone was out of power, but it still worked through the car. So I'm sorry about that. Thank you so much for being patient. Welcome, and I hope some reports will trickle in as we come along. I think we have some interesting news today. Some of it I'm happy about, some of it not so, and we'll let you make your decisions. The first person I'm going to have speak under community reports is, of course, Sergeant Eric Smith, and we've worked together now for more than 5 years, I think.
Right at 3, I think.
It seems like you've been out here, though. You've been on the horse patrol. He's been involved with the horse patrol and lots of things, and that's a collaboration. So I've known you longer than that. But he has some good information for us and then some other news. So I'll let you go ahead.
Thank you, Catherine. All right, like Catherine said, I'm the sergeant out here at the Siesta Key substation. I also am in charge of our mounted patrol unit at the sheriff's office. And then every month I like to try to get in here, if not at least get on Zoom and be able to talk about things that are happening on the key that relates to the sheriff's office. And I get a report from our crime analyst every month, which then I look over and kind of pick out. She highlights some important things that go on. But one of the things we always like to bring up is that the number of calls for service that we have out here. This past month in January, we had 336 calls for service. And those all get reported in different ways under different categories. And I think it was like 13 of them, which roughly comes out to about 4%, get classified under like persons crimes or major property crimes. So we usually out here are around anywhere from 5 to 6% of the calls we go to fall into those categories. And this past month we were down a little bit, which is always a good thing, to 4%. So just to pick out a couple of the things that happened. We had 3 auto thefts reported in January. It's a little misleading if you just look at the numbers. So we had the analysts kind of dig into it a little bit. 2 of those were electric bicycles. But the way our reporting system works and the way the state of Florida identifies what a vehicle is, electric bikes fall into that category. So it comes across as vehicle theft and what you think is a car or a truck or a bus or whatever, but it's actually an electric bicycle. Not that that's any better or worse, it just sounds a little different. And one of them was a golf cart that some juvenile stole and then actually brought it back and returned it. We had 1 vehicle burglary in which someone stole the registration sticker off the car, off the license plate. So they didn't actually make injury into the vehicle, I don't think, but they did take this registration sticker off of it, and because it's a private vehicle and where that sticker is actually located, it gets classified as a burglary. We did have a couple thefts, and again, you know, I talk about it every month about locking your cars and being responsible for your items and helping prevent yourself from being a victim. Lock your cars, pay attention to where your items are, lock up your house, lock up your valuables around your house. We had a couple thefts at the beach, some unintended items, like one was a wallet, one was a cell phone that were left unattended on the beach, and somebody came by and saw the opportunity and took it. But as far as other major incidents that has happened on the key this past month, that's majority, that's it. Like I said, we were down to 4%, which is always a good thing. At 336 calls for service, that means 336 times somebody called the sheriff's office and wanted us to respond for what various number of reasons. And only 4% of those get classified under that persons and that property crime. So we're still doing good there. I usually at this time like to open it up and have people have questions. But before we get to that point, like Catherine, I called Catherine earlier and gave her a heads up. It was bittersweet. I got a phone call from the sheriff earlier this week, and they are promoting me to the rank of lieutenant, and I'm getting reassigned to our our comm center, the Emergency Operations Bureau. So thank you. It's a great opportunity for me to get to affect some more people reach out and hopefully make their lives a little better. Like hopefully I've been able to do with some people out here as well. But it's bittersweet because I really have enjoyed coming here every month. I really enjoyed the friendships we made, the contacts we made. It's really second to none. This is probably one of the better jobs at the sheriff's office, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to be out here. We have not identified who's going to replace me yet. That will be coming here in the next week or so for sure. I can assure you, like I did Catherine, emphasize how important I think it is for us to come to these meetings and keep the contacts and relationships with the community out here that we have. I've had the opportunity to speak with the sheriff on several occasions in this position, and I can assure you he takes this position seriously. He knows the kind of community that we have out here. He knows the kind of people that we have out here and how great it is. And I know he will definitely, take that into consideration when picking my replacement. I've asked him for the opportunity, once that happens, to be able to spend some time with the new person out here. So again, hopefully, if that happens, maybe I'll be able to come back to the next meeting and still introduce him, give him an opportunity to introduce himself and meet everybody and work on those types of relationships again. So with that being said, does anybody have any questions about anything that's happened or any other complaints? I can still address those. Yes, sir.
So first of all, Eric, I want to thank you and Kurt and Brian for the 2 extra deputies that we got. Did that go into effect this week? I read in the paper.
It actually went into effect on January 6th. So we've had them out here for almost a full month now.
Well, that's awesome. Could you speak to what your routine is or what your dedication is to traffic enforcement, speed traps?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I can turn speed trap, but we do. I mean, it's the law. We post it. It's not necessarily a trap. We're not trying to trap anybody. It's right there. We're telling you, here's speed. Don't break the law. But we are dedicated to it. And actually, that's one of the things that I really addressed with the 2 new evening shift deputies that we had out here. So they're going to be working every day of the week with the exception of Mondays. And they work from 4 p.m. to 2:30 in the morning. And they're flexible with that. Sometimes, something happens right at 2 o'clock, or they need something, their event going on, they're going to stay late, come in early, or whatever it is. We're flexible with that schedule, but that's their base schedule, and that's what they're going to work. That's one of the things when I sat down when they first came out, and I sat down with them and tried to explain what my expectations were of them in this new position. It's kind of unprecedented. We haven't necessarily had that, to my knowledge, out here in the history of the sheriff's office, at least since I've been here in the last 15 years. So one of the things I talked to them, because we do get a lot of complaints about speed, and I want them to address that. We get a lot of complaints, and I've seen it myself. When people are leaving the village and they either go out the North Bridge or come down here in front of Beach Road and then just open it up right down Beach Road and take off or cut back up Midnight Pass or go down to the South Bridge. So I've identified a couple areas like that. Usually we get the most complaints on those areas. And I've asked them to kind of help start enforcing that a little more. So
there's another one that maybe old hat to you, but I pretty much walk my dogs every morning. I come down the circle and head towards the village. And interestingly enough, it looks like mostly workers going to work, but they're really exceeding speed limit. I'd love to.
And that's more in the morning
here every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, and I'll get, because I've started kind of staggering the hours of sometimes when our day shift guys are out here. Some of them, like Deputy Strom, has been coming in a little earlier. And one of the reasons for that, because I wanted him to be able to address the traffic at ODA and have a presence there when kids are going to school and out of school and the schools and stuff like that. So I mean, we can just add that right to it, and I'll have him start looking at that as well, along with the day shift patrol guy. Yes.
Are you going to start ramping up for spring break, or is this covering spring break?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I meant to mention that earlier. We are ramping up for spring break. I have completed already the ops plan that we have for the sheriff's office, the operational plan that we're going to put into effect starting March 1st. We've got an administrative order already cleared and signed by Chief Judge Roberts that help us kind of enforce some of the county ordinances that go on out here. And it doesn't decriminalize certain laws, but it allows us to issue someone a civil citation instead of having to physically take somebody to jail. So for it's all misdemeanor, nonviolent offenses. And it allows us to give them a civil citation, about $250, a civil citation, which if they don't pay, they go to jail. Their warrant gets issued to them, and wherever they're from, Ohio, California, Michigan, wherever it is they're from, we'll get a warrant, we'll go pick them up and bring them back. So it just helps alleviate some of the pressure that's going through our court system at the time. So we're not just bringing a bunch of misdemeanor, nonviolent misdemeanor crimes through our system here in Sarasota County, bogging down what it's meant to be used for, the citizens of Sarasota County. So it helps us streamline that issue. I have a meeting actually on Wednesday with all of the patrol supervisors that work at the sheriff's office, which will encompass the day shift, evening shift, and night shift, along with their supervisors, all the way up to probably Colonel Woodring with the sheriff's office. So it is a full encompassing thing, this operational plan that we're putting in effect. And the main goal is that we're all on the same page, that we're all out here enforcing the same laws in the same way, just to kind of keep that continuity of service to not only the citizens, but all the visitors here as well. So it's definitely ramping up. We'll have the horses out here again this year for that. We've already got them prepped and ready to go. So come March 1st, we'll also going to start seeing a lot more people out here and to address that issue.
Did you get the horse you were looking for?
We haven't yet.
Oh.
Yeah, we're still in the market. So, you know, we work solely at this time. We work solely on donated horses at the sheriff's office. So we've been extremely lucky over the years, and people have donated us some amazing horses. Either they fall in hard times, or you know, they have a horse that needs a companion and they only have one, and they've reached out to us, and we've had a lot of them that not be able to work out. We've had a lot of them over the years that work out great. So we're always in the market for that. If you ever hear anybody that has a great horse, we have specific requirements that they have to meet. Obviously, they're doing a job. It's not a retirement gig. You know, we put them to work. They get spoiled. I'll tell you that left and right. They probably get spoiled better than some of the deputies' employees here do. We take care of those suckers nonstop. Yes, sir.
Is there a speed limit on Stickney Point going over the bridge?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
35-ish. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. I know there's a speed limit there.
I thought it was 70.
That's just for me. It's 70.
If you catch it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir.
That's probably a silly question, but your mention of the burglary of the sticker, the license plate sticker, don't those fall apart when you try to peel them off? How would you even? I would never notice if mine was missing.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a lot of people don't, and I don't know the exact details of it, but yeah. So they've got little slots in them when you stick them on there. But I'll tell you what, if there's a will, there's a way. And the one thing I've learned over the years is if somebody wants something bad enough, they'll find a way, and they come up with little chemicals or something to spray it with, and we'll get what they want.
I had a law class that I took it again with the county attorney, and they just go over things with code officers and inspectors, health department inspectors, and land development, all kind of code enforcements, which is not just us, okay? And I took it again just because I wanted to, it's not going to hurt nothing. It didn't cost me anything. So as we got to talking, and there's two things that wasn't really wide open before, as far as one of my tools for using to fight these short-term rentals. And I had made a comment about one of the things he was talking about that is becoming more useful. And I raised my hand and says, his name was Scott, the county attorney. He's the main county attorney. And I said, Scott, we're not really able to use emails that come to us as evidence. He says, oh, no, you can use it. I says, well, it was kind of frowned on before as far as not being real, useful as solid evidence because it's coming from a third party. And he says, well, that was before. He says, but we can use the emails if the person's willing to, back up what they're sending us. And I says, okay, well, that's pretty good, because I got one person that's been complaining, and he got emails all the way back to 2019. And it's just the same old thing. It's the short-term rental. He has times documented. He has times that not only did he talk to the renters themselves, not only did they admit to short-term rentals, he's looking, he can see, he's home all day. He sees that, not only are they, they're not dodging the fact that they're renting short-term. He sees them when they roll up, when they unpack, when they leave. I says, it's either 6 days, 7 days, 10 days, 2 weeks. I says, now, since I took over here at Siesta Key as the loan officer on the key, I've got quite a long list of different emails that he sent to update the case. And, like he knew, and I know that it wasn't going to be that useful, but it's useful for me, because then I have something that I'll go straight out to the house. I'll go out to the house and I'll knock on the door. I'll attempt to talk to the renter. And a few times I did get successful in just talking to them, and they did admit that they're leaving tomorrow, or they just got here Sunday and they're leaving this weekend. Okay. And Scott says, well, that's useful if the person that sent it is willing to come to court for us. And he would like to at least vet them first to make sure they're not afraid and things like that. I says, okay. I says, another thing is that he mentioned while he was doing his presentation, that I brought it up, that I says, now you said that we really didn't, take kindly to letting the witnesses come in at the initial evidentiary hearing. And he says, if they're willing to come in at the initial evidentiary hearing, he's willing to accept them, and we don't have to subpoena anybody or anything. It's not that type of court. He says, if they want to come in and they're not afraid and they're willing to speak up. And that was like music to my ears, because that's a game changer for us, because he says, and at the same time, I had my supervisor, Charlie, and Sandy, the manager. She did come in. She did walk in the room at the time where he was done with his meeting with us. And he did come over to both of us, all three of us, and explain that he's welcoming this now. And that kind of helps me, because I know it's hard to catch up to these renters, and it's hard to get them to admit, or at least, let alone trying to forward me a lease, because that was really a more solid evidence, is getting a lease if you can get it. But see, with this Airbnb and this, what's the other one? The VRBO, they give you some kind of electronic, submission saying, hey, you've been accepted and we'll take your rental term. Now that helps also, because before we would do that on the screen, and it's not really good because we didn't purchase it ourselves. We didn't just go through with a complete purchase, but we have screenshots that the time was acceptable. So he says that's more acceptable now too, because a year or two ago, they have a tweak or two in the code where this is a game changer for me, and it's going to help me expedite these. And I'm working them. It takes time to research online, and I've been reading these comments, and these screenshots will help me more. And I felt that was great news. And just like I told my supervisor and my manager, Sandra, that this is a game changer, actually. And it helps because there's people willing to come and assist us in court. They're willing they're putting their, I ain't gonna say life on the line, but they're putting themselves out there where they're neighbors. And, a lot of people don't want to be involved, but I got some complainants that they're ready to be involved. They're really tired of this short-term rental stuff that is going it's just they're running it in the ground with what they can get away with. So this is helping me. And I got quite a few complaints I've been working on and doing the research. It takes a little longer to get this stuff and snip it and to save it, but it's good. It helps me put the case together. It makes me make a solid case where the attorney is ready to back me up as far as accepting the third person that it's not hearsay. They're ready to accept it. See, before we would add it in the file because it makes our file look good and it's thicker, but it's not admissible. I'm not going to say it wasn't admissible. It's admissible, but at least we can back it up with a witness. And it's really, what do you call it? They can document, I can document better, and I can bring the person in, and their testimony will be given some priority in this. So I think that's just great news for me and for you guys and for the complainants and for just the whole Siesta Key Association, knowing that I can really take this a little further, and I can really work on each individual case with everything I can find and put it together, because I'm not looking to let these people off the hook that easy. Okay. So I thought that was great news, and I wanted to break it to you guys personally.
That's great. For those of you that could hear, are there questions that you want to ask him while he's still on with us? I personally would like to ask one thing, and that is, could you outline what you need from a person to provide a witness statement? If you could just send us something that we could say, here's what your first step would be, what your second step would be if you observe something or want to report. And these are the items that work best if you can do it. And even the time frame that you would need it. Because I think that process of education would really help a lot. And we could make sure to get it out there once you have it pretty clear what you would need.
Okay, here's what I'll do. I will not only do that, I want to do that right after I talk to the county attorney so he can step it out for me. That way we're all on the same page. And then how about I'll get it to you guys and the board, and then I will be willing to make that a priority for the next show also, just the details of that. And that'll help us. Meanwhile, you can already be dishing it out and everything. And I think that'll be really helpful. So I will get with Scott, the attorney, and I will have a step-by-step approach for that. How's that?
Great. Everybody hear that? Yes.
What's the minimum period of rent?
I got a question there.
I did see it, Michael. I was waiting.
Okay.
Just a moment. We have an audience member here that asked a quick question. What is the minimum period of rent? You could explain how it works here in terms of as a residential single family home area. What is the requirement that they rent? What's the period of time?
The period of time, you have to rent no less than 30-day periods. And it has to be 30 days occupied, period. Now, people say, well, they rented it for a whole month, but they only stayed a week. Now, what idiot in their right mind is going to pay you for a whole month and then they're going to leave in a week unless you kept their money? But then you're not allowed to re-sublet that place, or they're not allowed to transfer it. You're not allowed to rent it for the unused space for that 30-day term, if you understand what I'm saying.
Did you understand what he said?
Okay. Yeah. And then you know that they can use their family and stay in there, but if they get money off their family, that's a lease. That's not really family. That's paying guests. Same thing with they're saying friends can use for free. Now we got one guy, and he just tells us, and he tells Staley, and he tells the neighbor, well, those are my church family, and those are my friends, and so we're not going for that. And this guy's willing to come to court with me, and we're gonna get that place shut down. As far as and I did talk to one of your members, not the members, but one of your board members again this week, and let her know that good news. And she was willing to go over that case with me, the one that she's working on in her area, and I'm willing to take that thing and reopen it. So I want to talk to you, in private about that later. But yes, I think it's a new game, and because this is going on and it's going on, and they're stretching it like it's elastic, and that's not going to happen no more.
Okay, I have Michael that has a question.
Okay, June, and then we'll stop with that question if that's okay to move on. Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Michael.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I love your attitude towards the illegal vacation rentals on the Barrier Island. The one thing that I've been trying to share, I know a great deal about this, and what is really needed is a registration process. The registration process is for RSF owners on the Barrier Island that wish to rent. And part of the registration process is signing off on the ordinance. And why is that important? Because Airbnb and VRBO has a government relationship team. And if you provide that ordinance to the government relation team, which I could provide you the contacts, they will scrape their calendar and show you every time the home was rented. So all they need is the owner's signature on our ordinance, and they'll give you all the data that you need for court. And I'm happy to share that with you.
Let me give you my number, Mike, and
Yes.
I don't only want to talk to you. I wrote everything down. You're saying I do need the contacts, and I like that. At the same time, I think that's going to be very helpful because the person I did talk to on the call we had just a board commission call, and she made some progress with sheriff reports and reporting them to the Airbnb, and they did shut one down a couple times. And she said they started renting again. So I want to go over that case with her later, but because I told her we're going to open that back up, and that is going to be very helpful because what I can do, and I don't know if that was your idea, Mike, when we were on that call before, that we can send a certified letter initially, and it wasn't even to a notice of violation. It was the certified letter because I can see it as advertisement on the Airbnb. But now, since talking to that attorney and since that was brought up before, I can send a notice of violation just on the advertisement and them seeing me seeing the advertisement with a screenshot, because they weren't using it before as solid evidence. It was more circumstantial, but it is in the code, and I will be doing that. So let me.
And what's neat too, when an owner signs up with Airbnb, they agree to abide by all local rules, ordinances, and statutes. So that's what gives Airbnb the authority to provide you with their calendar.
Well, not only that, I want that history of the short terms that they have with Airbnb and VRBO. Yep. That's real important. So if you can get my number.
Yes, sir.
Catherine.
Okay.
Or you want me to say it? I can say it anyways. It's 941-264-4988. I'll repeat that. 941-264-4988. And please use that, and anyone can call. But to open a complaint, please dial the 861-5000 and open the complaint. But feel free, once you open a complaint and you have a complaint number and an address has been reported, please call me for an update so you won't be waiting around to see what happens. You call me and say, hey, Russ, I opened up a complaint. Now, this is for the whole audience and the Zoom audience and the in-person audience. Please call me after you open a complaint so I can at least keep you in the circle on an update, because you are the original complainant. So it's okay for me to call you back and we can discuss it, and I can tell you and keep you posted on the status. And you can do that via phone of 941-264-4988 or my email, russ@scgov.net. That's RRUSS@scgov.net. And that's all I have for today, but I'll be looking for communication from you guys. And I appreciate everything you guys are doing to help us with this problem. Thank you so much.